If there is a luxury watch company you've never heard of it, it's certainly Richard Mille, and there can be no doubt about it at all. Founded in 2001, the company is a serious name in the luxury watch market. Who is Richard Mille, though, and how did he build the company into what it is today? Let's find out. Richard Mille was born in the Provence area of France in 1951. The Provence area, in particular in France, is still known for housing many of the world's rich and famous, and Mille seemed to have grown in proximity to them. What is in fact known about him is that he would enroll at a technical affiliate of the University of France Count. It is unknown whether or not this was the IUT Besançon. He began working as an export manager for the French watchmaker Fin Hall. After graduating in 1974, it was rather a small company, and it was soon acquired by Montre, a larger jewelry company. Mille moved on to the fashionable jewelry business Mauboussin to take over the timepiece branch a few years later. But his feet were still itching. They were itching to create something unique and different, not bound by what he was already working with. It would take a long time, however, and in 1999, he was finally able to take a risk and start his own firm. But it would be another 2 years before the first timepiece was released. Richard Mille met Giulio Papi, one of the current generation's most outstanding watchmakers, and director of research and development at Audemars Piguet Renata Papi, high-end watchmaking branch. During these years, he would end up helping him design and create some of Mille's own first offerings. Audemars Piguet became a minority shareholder in the project as well. Audemars Piguet Renata Papi became the technological partner for the Richard Mille collection's most sophisticated movements, including tourbillon and split-second chronograph. Since the beginning, a tourbillon, for those unaware, is a mechanical complication featured in some high-end mechanical timepieces movements, even on basic mechanical watches. The structure that governs timekeeping can be seen vibrating through display case backs in a constant state of motion. The first timepiece was far from straightforward. The Richard Mille RM001 was in fact a tourbillon model, one of the most distinguished achievements in watchmaking. There were just 17 pieces made. It was billed as a wrist-mounted at racing machine. The tourbillon movement was displayed in an intriguingly curved to non-shaped case for all to appreciate. This story also marked the start of a long affiliation with the glittering world of A-listers, ranging from athletes to Hollywood celebrities. It was named after Felipe Massa's Brazilian Formula One driver, who wore it during races and even during his catastrophic crash at the 2004 Canadian Grand Prix. The watch, like the driver, miraculously survived the ordeal. The first timepiece for the carbon fiber base plate was RM006. Richard Mille desired a black base plate for this model. Thus, its dark appearance was a significant plus. Manufacturing such a base plate, on the other hand, was incredibly difficult and expensive due to the difficulty of cuffing and drilling with the precision required for watchmaking. The RM007 was the brand's first ladies' watch, debuted in 2005, and the business went on to manufacture special pieces for actress Natalie Portman. Michelle Yeoh. The nautical-themed RM014, created in conjunction with luxury sailing stored Paridi Navy, would be followed by many collaborations with athletes and entertainers over the next few years, including tennis player Rafael Nadal and actor Jackie Chan, to mention a few. The RM012 is a tubular tourbillon with a minimalist form and significant manufacturing complexity. Was released in 2006. This platinum watch was produced in a limited edition of 30 pieces, with the explicit goal of revolutionizing the traditional concept of a plate on which wheels are positioned by replacing it with tubes to create a three-dimensional architecture ensemble that is both reliable and efficient, but also being extremely light and aerial. But it wasn't simply the celebrities who were impressed by the brand. The ultimate prize was soon achieved. It had established its watchmaking credentials by joining the Foundation de la Haute Horlogerie in 2007. And receiving the Golden Hand Award of the Grand Prix. The same year, it is the watchmaking equivalent of the Academy Award. The brand's success would eventually allow Richard Mille to open up a second factory, the Ultra, Modern Pro Art SA debuted in April 2013 and is dedicated to the production of Richard Mille watch cases and other components in precious metals like titanium and composites such as base plates. The building was the first in the canon of Jura in Switzerland to use geothermal heating and cooling systems, and it was constructed using environmentally friendly materials. Richard Mille continued to push the boundaries of the invention in the years after employing unusual and often unheard of materials, as well as innovative production processes. The tourbillon RM 2702 is an example of the never-ending search for new challenges. It was introduced with Rafael Nadal at the starred Roland Garros during the 2015 edition of the French Tennis Open. This watch featured the first skeletonized unibody baseplate, in which the caseband and baseplate were fused into a single piece, eliminating the need to in the two components of a solution that necessitated a high level of expertise and experience in micromachining novel materials. This structure, which was inspired by race car chassis, greatly improves rigidity and impact resistance. The McLaren F1, a masterpiece created in conjunction with the renowned McLaren Formula One constructor, sets a new record as the lightest mechanical chronograph ever constructed at the beginning of 2017. The RM 5003, which combines a tourbillon with a split-second chronograph, weighs less than 40 grams with a strap included. Richard Mille debuted the RM 6501 automatic split-second chronograph that became the most sophisticated watch evident to part of the Richard Mille factories at the end of 2020 after 5 years of development. This model is driven by a high-frequency balance with variable inertia, thumping a frequency of 5 Hz to assure stopwatch computations to 1/10 of a second. The RM 6501 is the most recent model available. Richard Mille was elevated from 8th to 7th place in Morgan Stanley's annual assessment of the condition of the Swiss watch industry in 2020. It was 10th in 2018 with annual revenue estimated at $840 million by the research writers. The 6 corporations ahead of Mille, on the other hand, Cartier, which came in 3rd place in the report's top 50 brands, was estimated to have made $1.73 billion in 2020, although that the figure was based on sales of 490,000 watches with an average sale price for $675, also to stand against the traditional distribution paradigm of collaborating with merchants, opting to sell each and every watch it produces through stores it owns and runs. Rolex, for example, which ranks first with yearly revenue of $4.7 billion, does not own a single store, and even mono-brand Rolex boutiques are run as franchises by retail partners. Mille's technique is more expensive to implement, but ensures that the brand receives 100% of its revenues, according to the report. Richard Mille has amassed a 2.5% market share of a centuries-old business in just over 2 decades, which may not seem like much until you consider that it's 1/10 of the market share owned by the industry's largest player, Rolex, and is constantly rising. Richard Mille watches cost roughly €150,000 on average, which puts them right in the midst of Patek Philippe and Alenge in Sonnet territory. But what is it about these timepieces that makes them so pricey? 1 kilogram of the rare titanium torque screws that embellish the bezels of the timepieces alone cost roughly 2 million Swiss francs, which is roughly the same in US dollars, according to Theodore Deal, with the brand's press officer and one of its first employees. Finally, it is this extra-mile attitude that runs through all watches and components like a thread, resulting in enormous additional expenditures. Then, there's the high-end watchmaking art, which is frequently sideswept due to the aforementioned relationship with Audemars Piguet, Renault, and Papi. The firm also runs to the absolute top level of watchmaking, in addition to colorful rubber straps and spectacular dials, vibration alarms and acceleration sensors, tourbillons, Radipon chronographs, you name it. Its complexities encompass practically everything that is technically conceivable. Nowadays, finally, there's marketing aside from high profile, while brand ambassadors. The brand may be found anywhere. Elite athletes and well-heeled buyers congregate on the planet. Formula One, super yacht regatas, grand slams, and so. Have you ever heard of Lee Sharp Murr? Are there any other details that you would like to add to this video? Share it in the comments, and if you'd like to see more inspiring business videos, then make sure to check out our channel.